Mega chords. What's up, dogs? It's Cameron with Venus Theory, and today we're here to talk about creating those kind of big, super lush melodic chord stacks and just kind of how I go about doing it. This is something I've done for a pretty long time, especially because like early on I was really into like melodic dubstep and trance and kind of stuff like that, had those big kind of like emotional chords, and I always thought those were really cool. And then, I've been doing this for so long that it's kind of like second nature to me, and I never really thought to slow down and explain kind of how I go about doing that and what my thought process is. A lot of what I think about, when I'm writing is just more the feel of it. It's not really like I sit down and think of the theory of things and how I want to, use leading tones to lead from this chord to this chord and stuff like that. I try to keep it very spur of the moment. However, having a handle on music theory and knowing chord structures and like harmonic relationships and things like that is very handy for this stuff. However, it is pretty easy just to kind of do it by ear, which is what I will be showing in this video, because this is pretty much how I do it. So without further ado, let's dive in and get started. All right, so today we are here to talk about creating big, huge emotional chords and how do I go about doing such things. So I'm going to try and explain this without using too many theory terms. However, having a little bit of music theory background is going to be helpful to kind of follow along and see what I'm talking about. So we're going to go from creating a chord progression into making those chords more interesting, and then taking that into the context of something, big and electronic to prove to you that this works. Because today we're going to be using strings, and for those of you not familiar, strings are these things. So I'm a very, very big fan of like film scores and like classical stuff. So, I've kind of been doing string related things for a while now because I like to, write epic music just for myself to listen to from time to time. So this is really how I go about designing chords more often than not, is I'll open up some kind of string patch. So I've got the Hallian cinematic strings preset open here, and I'll kind of use this to lay down a bass, and then I add more stuff on top of the chords. So it's a lot more simple than you might think, because I don't really dive right in and just go, oh, I'm gonna do like C minor and G7 on top of that. And, it's just like I'll build the chord progression and build on top of that to create those kind of interesting harmonic, tensions and releases and dissonance and harmony and things like that. So what we're going to do is we're just going to lay down a chord progression here. So we're going to be in A, and then we're going to open up the MIDI editor, and I'm just going to kind of walk you through my thought process along the way of creating some big chord stacks. So let's get started and make our progression. So I think we're just going to do something simple, which will be something like this. So all I did here was just fifth chords, or fives. So this is A5, F5, and then G5 goes around twice. So all I did is just the root note and the fifth. And then what I'm going to do next is kind of listen for what I could do here. So an A minor chord, because this progression is an A minor is made up of A, C, and then E up here. So I know that I'm missing this C. So I think in this next register, and this is kind of how I go about this, I'm going to lay down, the meat of the chords, and then maybe something below, and then some stuff above. And that's really how I go about creating this. So we're going to go ahead and lay down the bass under this chord. So I kind of want it to follow, but because this G goes around twice, I want it to shift halfway through here. So I'm probably going to go for a G, and then it's going to go down to a D, which would be the fifth, which is what's up here already. So now we're going to lay down the bass under this. So we're starting to get somewhere, but now we need stuff on top. So now what I'm going to look for is other stuff within this chord. So like I was saying earlier, I know I'm missing the C. So we could do something probably with the C and the E. So we could create kind of a double stop type of feel up here. Or rather up here. So we could do something with this. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold this down. And I'm going to kind of listen for where things need to change. You know, does the chord feel like it wants to move up? Does it want to move down? So right here, what I'm hearing against this G is da-na, like just like a half step thing. Or rather a whole step. So I want it to walk from E down to D up here. So we can just draw this in and that'll be a bit easier for you guys to follow along. This D, I want to start this on a C, maybe move this up to G. So now we're going to get kind of this counterpoint against this. And now I want to look for something else that I could do. So we could start on maybe an F. See how that sounds. So probably not. Let's move that up to a G. Maybe something kind of like that. And then I kind of want something against that. So now we should have something pretty decent. So I think we're gonna walk down here so we get that high end filled out. So that's really how I go about doing that. And to prove that this works really easily, we're going to do a whole nother progression. So I think we're going to do something in F. So we'll just kick that up and go. So I'm going to open this up and I'm going to go ahead and just make new chords on top of this. And I'm going to keep this open so you guys can kind of watch me work here. So that didn't quite work, so we can just move it. And I want that to go up, down, so I want it to resolve. And now we're going to do another layer on top of this. And another. So as you can imagine, this works very well, and it sounds really cool, and it's very easy then to take this over into like a big super saw patch, which is what I've got open here. So this sounds a little messed up because the quantization is weird because it doesn't like when I'm recording. But anyways, so, you know, all things considered, this is really how I get from, you know, a chord progression idea into something big and melodic and crazy like this. And that's pretty much all there is to it. And that's it for this video, guys, so thanks for watching, and I hope you learned something. As always, be sure to like and subscribe, and I will see you guys again soon.